All members will please come back to the House floor. We'll move on with this rules calendar. I want y'all to drive fast. You can probably catch up with the Senate. Representative Williams, I've got a bill I want to check over in the Senate. Will you go check on it for me? You have to have a key to get in, though. They lock the doors and turn out the lights. Mr. Clerk, we're going to get this party started, so how about ring that bell so everybody can come to the floor? Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption? This House will come to order. I hope you had a great evening, dinner, supper to us country folks, supper. So I hope you had a good pizza break, and so I saw some other great barbecue there, so hope everyone enjoyed themselves. Let's get a little work done, then we'll knock off for the evening, Mr. Leader. All right, Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 1134?
House Bill 1134 by Representative New, the 40th, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Part 5, Article 8 of Chapter 14 and Title 44 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to pawnbrokers, factors, bailees, acceptors, and depositories, so as to revise notice requirements for repossessors of motor vehicles. This bill having referred to the Committee on Regulated Industries. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Representative Kimberly New is recognized to present House Bill 1134. The lady's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today about HB 1134. This bill updates code to industry standards by doing two things. It updates the rules for notification for reclaiming personal property taken during a vehicle repossession, making it consistent with neighboring state laws. And number two, it clarifies and provides guidelines for the completion of a vehicle repossession. So the rules of notification, this bill lowers the storage period for personal property only, left in a vehicle from a repo from 70 days to 30 days, which aligns with industry standards, streamlining operations while allowing sufficient time for debtor redemption. By reducing unpaid storage time from 70 to 30 days, there's no need for a second notice to be sent. This will provide consistency with neighboring state laws. The second thing this bill does is provide guidelines for determining the completion of a repossession of a motor vehicle. It will be when the vehicle is attached to a tow truck, the agent has entered the vehicle, or the vehicle has been moved from its original location. This bill will bring Georgia in line with current industry practices, update our codes, and that is the bill. Are there any questions?
Lady has no questions.
Thank you for your time, and I appreciate your favorable consideration for this bill. Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.
Ladies yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? All members voted? If so, Mr. Clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of House Bill 1134, the yeas are 139, the nays are 16. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 967? 967.
House Bill 967 by Representative Ridley, the 22nd to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 6A of Title 35 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council so as to establish a grant program to provide financial assistance to law enforcement agencies to equip certain motor vehicles with bullet-resistant features. This bill I refer to the Committee on Public Safety and Homeland Security. That committee recommends this bill do pass.
We get into the real Ridleys now. Representative Jordan Ridley, you're recognized to present the bill, House Bill 967.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I bring you House Bill 967. It's a simple bill. We're just creating a grant program to the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council to allow them to issue grant money if the appropriations are there in the future to provide local agencies ballistic glass for their police vehicles.
Gentlemen, you yield for a question? Are
Yes.
you? I'm sorry. Are you finished?
I'll yield for a question.
Gentlemen, yield. Representative McQueen. Representative McQueen.
Thank
To
you,
your
Mr. Chair.
left.
Does the gentleman yield?
Yes.
Is there a fiscal note for this bill?
There's not. We're not requesting any monetary funds at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Gentleman has no further questions.
Thank you. I ask for your favorable consideration.
You should do more bills for the Ridleys. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, Mr. Clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of House Bill 967, the yeas are 155, the nay is 1. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 979?
House Bill 979 by Representative Bonner, the 73rd, to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 5227 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the retrocession of jurisdiction over lands owned by the United States so as to provide for procedures for the retrocession of jurisdiction in certain circumstances. This bill having been referred to the Committee on Judiciary, that committee recommends this bill do pass.
Chairman Bonner is recognized to present House Bill 979.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 979 came at the request of the Pentagon's Office of Military Community and Family Policy. This is a measure that will help out our military communities. It provides concurrent jurisdiction on our military installations for juvenile cases. The federal system is not set up for juvenile cases. It's an adult system, and so having access to this will help provide better outcomes and more appropriate sentencing for juveniles that commit crimes on military installations. Mr. Speaker, that's the bill, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Representative Park Cannon to your left is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Do you yield?
I do.
So how often does retrocession of jurisdiction actually happen in Georgia?
Well, right now, the only portion of Georgia where it even exists is a portion of Fort Benning. What the bill does would establish the geographic areas around our military installations to provide for that.
Okay, so only Fort Benning right now, but
Only
are there...
a portion of Fort Benning.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, do you further yield?
I do.
So only Fort Benning, certain areas of that right now. So what appropriations or expenses, costs happen because of this?
So the way it is set up, the state, it does not force the state. It actually allows the state to accept these cases if they desire. And so they're evaluated on a case-by-case basis. And so currently there is no additional expense for the state of Georgia.
Okay, do you further yield?
I do.
And so, I mean, you're standing here with this bill, but just to clarify, do you believe that the legislature is the appropriate body to have a role in approving a change like this?
I absolutely do, and that's the only way that this particular change can take place, because it is essentially the state of Georgia, the federal government ceding jurisdiction to the state of Georgia. So it is an appropriate venue for that, yes. With that, Mr. Speaker, I will yield the will and ask for your favorable consideration.
The gentleman had a couple of more questions, but he's yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, Mr. Clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of House Bill 979, the yeas are 161, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption of House Bill 963?
House Bill 963 by Representative Martin of the 49th and others to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 21 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to government transparency and campaign finance so as to prohibit foreign nationals from contributing to or participating in any campaign to bring about the approval or rejection by the voters of any proposed question which appears on the ballot. This bill having been referred to the Committee on Governmental Affairs, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chairman Chuck Martin is recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I bring to you this proposition this evening, House Bill 963, to simply bring Georgia in line with the federal government for referenda what is already in place for our elections. Foreign nationals cannot participate in federal elections. They cannot participate in state elections that for your office or the governor's office, a statewide office, but they can. There's no prohibition in Georgia code for them participating in referenda. That would be a constitutional amendment, a statewide question, or questions at the county or local level. So I can go through, Mr. Speaker, the sections of the bill, but the crux of the bill is to bring us in line so that the same thing will apply to state referenda, ballot referenda, that already applies to each of us. And that's what the bill does. I can, again, go section by section and tell you there are definitions and the prohibitions, but I'd rather answer the questions. I think there might be a couple, and then I'll get into further details as the questions dictate due to the late hour.
Gentleman has a couple of questions, and we do have a speaker on the bill. Representative Cannon, Park Cannon is recognized for a question.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Do you yield?
I do.
So how can we expect a campaign to do this verification independently?
They ask the question. They verify that the monies they get are not coming from a foreign national.
Thank you. Do you further yield?
Sure.
And so would we also require a 501c4 to identify or verify that they don't have any ties to any foreign donors?
If they wish to participate in our elections under the definition of a foreign national, lines 26 through 41, if that organization fits into that definition, they would be expected to poll their donors as if for their ability to participate. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Gisler, to your right, towards your back.
Yes,
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
I appreciate the bill. I understand what it's trying to do, and I recognize the importance of keeping foreign money out of our elections. I'm concerned about the participation part. Line 104 through 107, the foreign national shall not solicit directly or indirectly the making of a donation, contribution, or expenditure, to the various types of elections or ballot measures. In my district, the University of Georgia School of Public and International Affairs attracts students from all over the world, and in school projects that they may be receiving credit for, they may participate in local activist groups and committees and things. Would this bill penalize them for participating in that type of activity?
If they fall under the definition of this bill, if they're foreign national and they attempt to influence as in the lines that you mentioned, that would be a violation of this state law. It's already a violation of federal law.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Carson up the center aisle is recognized for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
Is it not true that this election measure prevents foreign nationals and their funds from influencing our statewide referendums? Isn't that not true?
Yes, sir. That's one of the things it does, and local and county and city referendums. Yes, sir.
And thank you for that. Does the gentleman further yield?
Yes.
And it is not true that this already applies to statewide races, state legislative races. We're just tightening it up so to make sure foreign nationals don't also contribute as well to referendums. Is not true?
That is true. Arguably, influence in a constitutional amendment or a statewide referenda would stand for a longer time than any one of us in office, and foreign nationals are prohibited from being involved in a 2-year term for a state house member. I think it is quite fair for them to be prohibited from being involved in a constitutional amendment that will affect this state for decades to come.
Great bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for bringing it.
Representative Miller is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
Thank you for the bill. I think I understand what you are trying to accomplish with it. Just wondering the scope of the bill. If I were to be elected, would this bill prohibit a foreign government like, say, Qatar from giving me a plane or a jet?
This bill would not prohibit you from getting a plane or a jet if it didn't influence the outcome of an election.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, if there are no further questions on the bill, I think I've made the point. I believe influencing a statewide referenda is far more lasting than a 2-year term, and foreign nationals can't contribute to our elections for 2-year terms. I don't believe they should be able to contribute to statewide referenda. I ask the House favorable consideration on this important measure and yield the well.
Gentlemen, yielded the well. We do have one of our members who wants to speak in opposition to the bill. Representative Sanchez. There he is. You'll have up to 15 minutes. Gentleman's recognized.
I won't need that long, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, though. I appreciate you, and thank you. So, obviously, I am 100% in agreement that we've got to keep out foreign interference in our elections. I do believe in that wholeheartedly. My concern with this bill is the broad definition that we're using for foreign nationals that could easily get in people who are simply members of our community who've lived here for a long time, who are simply doing work to advocate for their communities. And this actually does go beyond the federal law. This isn't just matching the federal law. It goes beyond it by including businesses wholly or majority owned by foreign nationals, even if they're organized in the U.S. And so I think that this bill is overly broad. It's going to pick up folks that I believe you all are not trying to pick up. Hopefully I'm correct on that. And again, I agree that we should get rid of foreign interference in our elections because it has been a major concern, especially in the past few years. But we need to make sure that when we write this language that we do it with a nice, with nuance on the language, because I believe that this definition is broad enough to unfortunately have potentials for racial discrimination against, say, organizations who may be immigrant-led, for example. And so I believe that this, for me, this language is too broad to support. I support the intent of the bill, but I can't support this legislation as written. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I yield the well.
Gentleman's yielded the well. Thank you for your comments. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? For what purpose does Representative Wilkerson rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, and I was trying to ask parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry, sir.
It's a very nice one, but I did have a question. Would this stop a student from participating in the Governor's Honors Program because they would be indirectly influencing legislation? That was really for the author, and I wish I could have got over there for that.
I don't think it would. Does this interfere? Let's find out the exact answer. Preventing a student from participating in the Governor's Honors Program? Gentleman is recognized for an answer to a parliamentary inquiry. We want to get it right.
I'll try to do that with a parliamentary. Isn't it true, Mr. Speaker, that ballot initiatives by local governments or state governments, the government themselves are prohibited from trying to influence the election they have? So while we may make the law and call the question, isn't it true, I don't believe state funds can be expended to advocate for the passage. So I don't believe a foreign student would be kept out of the honors program or the governor's intern program. Isn't that true?
I think the answer is that they would not be kept out of the honors program, is what I understood. For what purpose is Representative Jasmine Clark rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
State your inquiry, ma'am.
Mr. Speaker, isn't it true that I actually do support the intent of this bill? And before the author of the bill had a seat, I was going to ask him about the use of indirectly in this bill, as I fear that that language could be too broad and difficult to interpret.
I think we appreciate the lady's question, and sounds like he has intent was to do just what it says, is keep that interference out. For what purpose does Representative Rahman rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is it not true that oftentimes, especially with more local campaigns, we tend to go to local businesses and meet up with voters there and launch from there? And if a local business owner ends up hosting any of these events and they are not a citizen or a green card holder, but they might be a visa holder, and if we're doing any kind of petition, then this could be considered an indirect form of support for a referendum.
I know the lady has a clearer vision of what she's saying, but I think that's incumbent upon us to make sure that we check behind who's contributing to us. All members voted. If all members have voted, Mr. Clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of House Bill 963, the yeas are 140, the nays are 24. This bill having received the requisite constitutional majority is therefore passed. Did somebody's space heater blow up?
It's a pie.
Oh, it's a pie. It's a burnt pie now. Yeah. I like my stuff well done, so I'll try a piece. Go ahead. Oh, there it is. Please take it back. I'm glad we figured that out. We almost evacuated the building. Just can't make it up. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Resolution 1416,
House Resolution 1416 by Representative Dickey of the 134th and others, a resolution creating the Joint Study Committee on Generational Sustainability of Family Farms. This resolution having been referred to the Committee on Agriculture and Consumer Affairs, that committee recommends that this resolution be adopted.
Great title. Let's hear you explain that. Chairman Robert Dickey, who knows a little bit about family farms, is recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and colleagues. I bring you House Resolution 1416. It's an effort to, with Chairman Goodman over in the Senate, to create a joint House Study Committee to look at what's going on with our agricultural industry, especially our family farms. As many of you know, in this room, agriculture in Georgia is facing some real headwinds, some real crisis like I've never seen in the last 40 or 50 years. Our agricultural industry contributes $100 billion to our state economy. It's the single most largest industry we have, with workforce that totals 370,000 Georgians. And with higher input costs, low commodity prices, many of our family farms are facing bankruptcy. And we would like to, with this study committee, look for some answers. Bring in experts over the summer and fall to try to find some answers. I know Washington is where we look first for help for our farmers, and they're working very hard on this too. But on a state level, we really need to listen to our farmers and listen to experts to see if we can give some relief. And I really want to thank this body over the last 2 years have really stepped forward and helped our farmers in this state. With disaster relief, we've had hurricane after hurricane on top of these bad commodity prices and other issues facing us. And so thank you for what you've done and continue to do. But I want to make sure what we bring to you in the future is something that really helps our family farmers, something long-term that can be sustainable for our agricultural industry. So that is what we set out to do with this joint study committee over the summer. And Mr. Speaker, with that, I would answer any questions if there's any.
You have a couple from a couple of our lady members. Leader Hughley is recognized for a question right in front of you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
Well, isn't it true that my granddad was a row crop farmer, and farming is very important to our state? And I just want to ask, will this study committee look at the challenges that minority farmers are facing, because it is something very important to our community as well?
Thank you for that question. And you're absolutely correct, Leader, that minority farmers have probably been hurt worse through the years with our farm issues and farm crises from lack of capital and those type things. So yes, it's a lot of issues that we can look at to help our minority farmers and our small farmers, which are the backbone of our industry in this state. And some of our large multinational corporations are much better prepared to weather these storms than our smaller farmers. So thank you for that question.
Representative Ford, to your right, is recognized for a question.
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
No, ma'am, I think you want a question now, even from your seatmate. Y'all could have talked this over before you got up there, but we're going to allow you to ask him a question.
Can I ask a question? Is it not true that this study committee might help come up with solutions that could maybe even save some family farms? And since farmers are 3 times more likely to commit suicide than other professions, that this study committee could even help save lives?
Yes, and thank you for that question. And the lady knows for what she's talked. Her family business is very involved in our agriculture and is others in our body here. And so I hope we'll have lots of input and lots of help in trying to help our family farms.
Representative Barnes, to right up the center aisle, to your left, just a little bit. The ladies that other left. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
Is it not true that I'm trying to feed our children with our family farms in Georgia?
It is very true.
Thank
With
you.
that, Mr. Speaker, I'll yield the well.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill, to the adoption of the resolution? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this resolution now be adopted? All in favor of the adoption of the resolution will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? For what purpose is Representative Park Cannon Rise?
A parliamentary inquiry, please.
State your inquiry.
Thank you. Is it not true that 60% of Georgia's agricultural workforce is comprised of seasonal foreign-born workers, and Georgia consistently ranks among the top 5 states using the H-2A visa program to fill temporary jobs?
I'll trust the lady to know what she speaks, and yes, we have a very diverse, robust workforce in agriculture, and every one of them is important. Have all members now voted? All members voted. If so, Mr. Clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of House Resolution 1416, The yeas are 164. The nays are 0. This resolution, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Resolution 1243, 1243.
House Resolution 1243 by Representative Martin of the 49th. A resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution so as to authorize the creation of Georgia Next Generation 911 Fund and to provide for the submission of this amendment for ratification or rejection. This resolution having been referred to the Committee on Public Safety and Homeland Security, that committee recommends that this resolution be adopted.
Representative Chuck Martin is recognized to present the resolution. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We do a lot of important things down here, and I'm going to ask your attention here. I think this maybe is one of the most important things we can do for our fellow citizens in Georgia this year. I want to thank the co-sponsors of this bill, including Speaker Burns and Leader Hughley. I want to thank the members of the study committee, Chairman Crow and Camp, Chairman Williamson, McDonald, and Representative Carla Drenner for sponsoring this bill, and thank the Speaker for allowing me to work with that study committee as we traveled across the state this summer to listen to our first responders, the people that operate our emergency 911 centers, the police and firefighters that respond to those calls, and we heard the needs that we have across the state of Georgia. So what I stand here before you tonight is to make two very important asks. The first thing I'm going to ask you is to support this constitutional amendment so that we can put it before the voters, and I'll explain what that is in just a second. And the second thing I'm going to ask is when we're working on this summer, that you go back into your local community and you get with your local folks in police and fire and 911 and the operators, and you make sure they engage like they did last summer with us so that when we create this fund, we can work with them to make sure that money is divided the right way and gets back to the PSACs that answer the calls to service Georgians. Now, what this resolution does, this resolution would create a non-lapsing dedicated fund only for the use, and I'll just read the language because I think it's important. Monies in the fund shall exclusively be used for the expansion, maintenance, operation of 911 centers throughout the state, including transition to next generation 911. What we want to do with this fund is take the current fees you pay on that phone you have and that you pay on landlines, that same fee, not an increase, and put it in a state fund that then is distributed so we have ubiquitous 911 service, next generation 911 service across this state. Imagine if you're a first responder and you get a call and there's something going on, a fire or an emergency situation with violence, and you could see a video of that scene as you were driving up to it. We want that to happen across Georgia, not just where your phone gets billed, but where your cell phone travels. So we want to make sure those funds are divided and spread across Georgia so it doesn't matter what county, what city, what area you're in, that you get the answer you deserve. On your desk, I appreciate it. JICA has worked really close with us. On your desk, you'll see a letter from our 911 management associations backing us on this. And I won't belabor the point, except I am just really excited that we have an opportunity to do something tonight to set Georgia in a direction for the next generation of 911 to keep our citizens safe. With that, Mr. Speaker, I'd answer a question if there is one. Otherwise, I would ask you to cast this vote, to put this before the voters, and let's take the next step for next generation 911 for our citizens and for our first responders.
Representative Williams to your left is recognized for a question. Representative Al Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Thank this committee for its work. It's long, excuse me, it is long overdue Many of our systems are very antiquated. This will save lives, and we certainly deserve the best system that's available and possible. Thank you again for the work of the committee.
Thank you, sir, and I agree with you, and we deserve that all across Georgia.
Gentleman has no further questions.
I yield the well and ask your favorable consideration on this constitutional amendment and your work next summer to make sure our locals stay involved and we get this right. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Thank you for your work on this. It's very important. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the adoption of the resolution? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this resolution now be adopted? All in favor of the adoption of the resolution will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, Mr. Clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of House Resolution 1243, the yeas are 162, the nays are 0. This resolution, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. Good work. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 1128, 1128?
House Bill 1128 by Representative Seabaugh, the 34th, and others to be entitled An Act to Amend Code Section 34926 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to required notice regarding injured peace officers so as to provide that the State Board of Workers' Compensation shall provide notice for eligibility for compensation to an injured employee to his or her legal guardian. This bill having referred to the Committee on Public Safety and Homeland Security, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Representative Devin Seabaugh is recognized to present House Bill 1128. Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I bring you House Bill 1128 on behalf of the governor. This is a narrow, targeted, and important bill. It addresses law enforcement officers who suffered catastrophic brain injuries in the line of duty. These are officers who were protecting the people of Georgia when they themselves were permanently injured. In limited cases, their very injury that qualifies them for benefits also prevented them from applying for the benefit. House Bill 1128 corrects that. It requires notification not only to the injured officer, but also to their legal guardian, ensuring no eligible officer is left behind. And it creates a one-time limited window for qualified officers to apply for benefits they were already promised. This bill does not expand benefits. It does not create new programs. It simply ensures fairness. These officers fulfill their duty to Georgia, and House Bill 1128 ensures that Georgia fulfills its duty to them. That is the bill. I respectfully ask for your favorable consideration. And if there are no questions, Mr. Speaker, I'll yield the well.
Gentleman has no questions.
Thank you.
Governor's Floor Leader Seabaugh has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? All members voted? If so, Mr. Clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 1128. The yeas are 158, nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Feeling good? You want to try it again, huh? Floor Leader Seabaugh be waiting in the wings. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption of House Bill 1129?
House Bill 1129 by Representative Seabaugh, the 34th, to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 36886 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to criteria for enterprise zone so as to provide for a designation of enterprise zones. This bill having referred to the Committee on Governmental Affairs, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Floor Leader Seabaugh is recognized to present House Bill 1129.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good evening, colleagues. It's good to see you again. I bring to you House Bill 1129, again on behalf of the Governor's policy team. House Bill 1129 modernizes Georgia's enterprise zone statute by clarifying eligibility criteria, by strengthening oversight and ensuring incentives remain targeted toward revitalizing distressed areas and supporting major capital investments and job creation. This bill preserves accountability while maintaining a proven economic development tool, and it protects taxpayers while supporting transformational economic growth and community redevelopment. That is the bill, and I'll ask for your favorable consideration.
Gentleman has no questions.
Thank you. I yield the well.
Gentlemen, yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. Those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? All members voted? If so, Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machine? On the passage of House Bill 1129, the yeas are 160, the nays 1. This bill, having received a requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 1133? 1133.
House Bill 1133 by Representative Dickey, the 134th, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 23 of Title 50, Code Section 3691-100, and Code Section 48.8-200 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority. This bill having referred to the Committee on Governmental Affairs, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chairman Dickey is recognized to present House Bill 1133.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I present House Bill 1133. A straightforward and responsible bill grants the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority, GEFA, the authority to issue low-interest loans to local governments to support the redevelopment of closed landfills into solar installations. Members, there are currently 79 landfills across our state, and 21 are already closed, owned by local governments. And by 2045, there will be 30 more. These sites represent environmental liabilities and costs to these governments. Most of us, particularly those like me representing rural districts, have heard concerns about these solar facilities taking up our rural farmland, our valuable farmland. And while this bill would not represent significant acreage, it would be a great point of able to site these solar facilities on these closed landfills. Just as important, it would create revenue for these local governments, especially in our rural areas where many of these landfills are. Now, developing solar on these brownfields, on these solar fields, costs a little bit more money, and that's why we are looking to issue these low-cost loans from GEFA to help facilitate these solar facilities. And it would be a return on investment and repaid within 10 years or less. Other states around us, including Florida, Alabama, North Carolina, Tennessee, and South Carolina, are doing this, but they're doing it with grants. This bill would provide loans when funds are made available to GEFA. And with that, that is the bill, Mr. Speaker, and colleagues. I would gladly answer any questions.
The gentleman has a couple of questions. Representative Sanchez, to your right, is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, I do.
Yes, I know that many local governments struggle to with the cost of redeveloping closed landfills, and so how would the financing through the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority help with developing these?
The municipalities or counties will apply to GFA for these loans. They would own the solar fields, have the return, and pay back the loans with money generated from the solar facility. So it would be owned by the municipalities.
Awesome, great bill, thank you.
Really no cost to the state.
Representative Osteen, to your right, recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman yield.
I do.
Right over here, Chairman.
Where?
Right here.
There
You're
you
the
are.
right. You're the
Oh.
right. Yeah, that one over there.
How could I miss you?
I don't know. Is it not true that I'm going to refrain from saying what I'd like to say about solar fields?
No,
Thank
no
you.
farms. They don't
Taking
grow
up
any food.
Amen, brother. Taking up our farmland, I am grateful that you have figured out another way for them to find somewhere else to put those things. Thank you for bringing the bill.
With that, Mr. Speaker, I'll yield the well.
I'm going to get some tape and start identifying right and left for y'all here pretty quick. You're not the only one, Mr. Chairman. Put it in the right hand, left hand, whatever. It all works. Is there any objection? Gentleman's yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, Mr. Clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of House Bill 1133, the yeas are 160, the nays are 2. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 1211? 1211.
House Bill 1211 by Representative Kelly of the 16th and others to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 332456.3 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to colorectal cancer screening and testing so as to provide for guidelines and recommendation for colorectal cancer screening, examinations, and laboratory testing. This bill having referred to the Committee on Health, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Representative Trey Kelly, gentleman from Cedartown, is recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House, I bring before you House Bill 1211, which is going to expand the ways that we test for colorectal cancer in our state. I know that many of us in here have probably been touched by that personally in our lives. And so what we're looking to do today here is to expand the methods that you could test, which will help encourage compliance and recognizing when someone has this horrible disease earlier so they can get the treatment they need and have a more productive, healthy life. We do that by allowing our health plans to cover tests that are recommended by 3 new organizations: the National Comprehensive Cancer Network, the United States Preventive Task Force, or the national coverage determination made by Medicare and Medicaid Service. Mr. Speaker, it's a fairly straightforward bill, but it's very important to those around our state. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Representative Bazemore is recognized to your left.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Be glad to.
Thank you for bringing the bill. And is it not true that if it had not been in for these provisions that you put in this bill, that I would not have found out that I had colon cancer in 2018?
Thank God that you were able to get alerted, that you were able to get the treatment you need, and you're still here with us today. I think we can all thank God for that.
And thank you for your efforts.
Thank
for
you so
everybody
much.
else. Thank you.
Representative Glaze, to your left, is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Would the gentleman yield?
Be glad to.
Is it not true that the PSA tests are also tests to make sure and ensure that we get early detection and early treatment around colorectal, but as well, we would make sure that men's lives are saved earlier and that they stay with us as long as God's will?
That's the exact goal and intent of this bill, and I appreciate you helping clarify that for me.
And thank you for bringing the bill.
Thank you.
You have one last question. Representative Park Cannon is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Do you yield?
I will.
Okay. So what happens if these different organizations offer conflicting medical recommendations?
I appreciate that's a great question. So they all can provide different recommendations, and this allows the health plans to provide coverage for any of those that they deem necessary.
Thank you. Do you further yield?
I'll be glad to.
And so does this update any mandated coverage recommendations for our insurances in Georgia?
It does recommend that they cover these other tests as well, and this one specifically would expand out to a blood screening, which has a much higher compliance rate.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Gentleman has no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll yield the well and ask for this body's favorable consideration.
Good bill. Thank you. Gentleman's yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, Mr. Clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 1211. The yeas are 165, the nays are 0. This bill, having received a requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 1247, 1247?
House Bill 1247 by Representative Reeves and the 99th and others to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 1 of Title 15 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions so as to prohibit courts and administrative officers from deferring to agency interpretations of law and regulations. This bill having referred to the Committee on Governmental Affairs, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Representative Matt Reeves is recognized to present House Bill 1247.
Thank you, Speaker Burns and House colleagues. During America's 250th anniversary, this bill, House Bill 1247, ensures that there are 3 branches of government that stay in their lanes and do their jobs. The people, through their elected representatives, the legislative branch will make the law, the courts will interpret that law, and state agencies will carry out the law and adhere to the mission, rather than becoming a 4th branch of government that makes up new law. Just a few weeks ago, we voted on House Bill 903 from a distinguished Chairman Powell on the Administrative Procedures Act. This bill applies to all legal proceedings. This bill is one of the shortest ones we'll vote on this year, and its main section says, when interpreting the state's constitution, statutes, regulations, or other sub-regulatory documents, a court or an officer hearing an administrative action shall not defer to a state agency's determination or interpretation of such authorities, whether such determination or interpretation is written or unwritten. And then subsection B makes it clear this applies to legal interpretation, not factual matters. Texas, Tennessee, Missouri, Arizona, and several other states have codified this. And then the state of Florida enacted it by a ballot measure. And then North Carolina and other states have done it through the courts. This codifies the non-delegation doctrine. Mr. Speaker, I'm glad to answer any questions and would be glad to yield the well if there are no questions.
Gentleman has a couple of questions. Representative Shay Roberts to your left.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
To the gentlewoman from Atlanta, I do.
Okay. During the committee meeting, I asked if you had talked to any judges about
this bill that tells them what they can consider and what they can't consider. Have you talked to any judges since our committee meeting?
I've certainly talked to them offline. However, this is a legislative matter. This codifies court decisions such as eternal vigilance actions, such as Raffensperger versus Jackson, and it comports with many other states comprising a large portion of our country.
Representative Sanchez is recognized for a question to your right.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
I know we had rigorous discussion on this in committee, but I do want to ask, if agencies cannot interpret the laws that they are charged with enforcing, how are they supposed to make day-to-day decisions without asking a judge first every single day?
They can certainly do their own interpretation of the law just as citizens can, but what the statute says is that judges are the final determination, and the judges will not give undue deference. They will not put the finger on the scales in favor of the government against the people of Georgia.
And does the gentleman further yield?
Yes.
Isn't it true that if someone who does not get a favorable ruling by an agency can have a second bite at the apple at the Superior Court and can simply appeal? Or?
Pursuant to Georgia law, that's what subsection B says. The petition for review that Chairman Leverett and this body worked on so hard, the citizens can appeal that way, but this legal standard will apply in all legal proceedings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Leverett got the message when you mentioned his name. The gentleman is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman yield?
Absolutely.
Cannot litigants already appeal adverse decisions from regulatory agencies to superior courts or the Office of Administrative Hearings?
Absolutely.
So this does not change that.
It doesn't change the appeals. It just has the legal standard on legal interpretation of the Constitution, of statutes, of regulations. That will be in the hands of the courts.
Will the gentleman yield for one other question?
Absolutely.
And agencies can still interpret their own regulations, can they not, even with this bill?
They certainly can, but if it goes to court, the judges get to interpret the law.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Miller is recognized for a question, then Representative Gullett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, I do.
Is there a particular scenario that we're targeting here? What triggered this bill?
The three cases that have been in the Georgia courts that came out in committee, one was with the DOT, one was with professional licensing, the other was the state election board. So those are three specific regulations. However, the 12 or so states that I mentioned, there are innumerable state agencies in those states, and we have a lot of state agencies. This will have one standard for all, that both the citizens and the state agencies can review in one place in the code, one simple sentence.
Thank you for that. Do you further yield for one more?
Yes.
Can you tell me specifically with regard to the state elections board case, was there a case in court where a judge or a judiciary deferred to a state elections board interpretation of a rule that we're trying to target?
No, the Georgia Supreme Court actually overturned law, and they struck provisions, and they said we will not defer to the agency. Just like the House Bill 903, you have to have proper rulemaking through the Constitution, statutes, or regulations. You can't have state agencies just making things up on their own.
And so
three branches of government, not four.
This codifies that?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Gullett, I said he could get one. It's up to you if you take any more. Gentleman's recognized.
Gentleman yield.
Yes.
Isn't it true that if you believe in the separation of powers, this is really just protecting the legislature's lane and not the agencies?
Absolutely. Rule of law, democratic process, three branches of government. That's what this is all about.
Thank you.
Gentleman, Representative Wade is recognized for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, I do.
Does House Bill 1247 reinforce that policy decisions belong to the legislature and that courts, not regulators, should determine what Georgia statutes, how they should actually be interpreted?
Again, on the 250th anniversary, the people of Georgia decide. That's what this bill says.
One last question, Representative Park Cannon, recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Do you yield?
Yes, I do.
So you said earlier that judges make the final determination in these situations, and were asked if you spoke with any judges. Either way, do judges have the capacity for this additional workload?
It would not expand the appellate jurisdiction. That does not change by this law. Mr. Speaker, if there are no further questions, I yield the well.
Gentleman has no further questions.
Thank you.
The gentleman has yielded the well. We have some members sign up to speak in opposition and in favor. We're going to give both groups up to 15 minutes. Y'all divide that up. Representative Shay Roberts is recognized. Then you next, Representative Kendrick, would you be second? And then, and then Representative Draper would be third. Ladies recognized. Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in opposition to HB 1247. No one that gets up here today is going to argue that the three branches of government should be separate, and I completely agree. No one here wants agencies acting beyond their authority, and courts should absolutely be the final arbiters of the law. We're agreed on that. I don't understand why we need this law to say that, because that's pretty much what the judges have now, but we need to be precise about when we tell judges and we micromanage them and say you may not defer, it's going to have unintended consequences. It's going to produce uncertainty. It's going to cost the state money. If we attempt to tell them or make them nervous about the fact that they're going to get an appeal from someone who decides that they deferred to a state agency interpretation, that's going to cause an additional burden on them to make sure they're writing findings and conclusions that clearly show that they didn't just defer to the agency. The courts are not doing that now. Under current law, when a state agency makes a regulatory decision and someone challenges it in court, the judge reviews that decision while giving appropriate weight to the agency's interpretation of its own rules. This doesn't mean the agencies always win. Courts can and do overturn agency decisions, but the agency their reasoned interpretation carries weight, which means it's because they have the expertise in these situations most of the time. This is going to require judges to have expertise in environmental science, finance. The bill eliminates durability. From the day it takes effect, courts are required to reach their own independent conclusions about what regulations mean without giving the agency's interpretation any special weight. Every significant agency interpretation in the state becomes a potential litigation target. I thought we were trying not to be the litigation hellhole. Any regulated party that lost an agency proceeding recently or years ago now has a concrete reason to try again in court. Think about the volume of decisions we are talking about. The Georgia EPD issues permit decisions continuously. The Department of Insurance reviews rate filings and makes coverage determinations. The professional licensing boards make credentialing and enforcement decisions that affect thousands of people. The Department of Labor issues interpretations of wage and safety rules that apply to employers across the state. All of these decisions under this bill become more legally vulnerable, not because they were wrong, but because the rules have changed in a way that makes challenging them worthwhile. The state will have to defend those decisions in court. That means agency staff time diverted from their actual regulatory work. It means resources from the Attorney General's office. It means litigation costs that are not captured in any fiscal note attached to this bill, because no fiscal note can fully predict how much litigation this bill will generate. What we can say with confidence is that it will generate more, significantly more than what the state currently faces. And when the state loses some of those cases, the consequences extend beyond the courtroom. A ruling that an agency misread a regulation can require permits to be reissued, enforcement actions to be unwound, and years of settlement decisions to be revisited. Those downstream consequences have their own costs, both financial and operational. Some of my colleagues may say that that is acceptable, that making agency decisions more vulnerable to challenge is exactly the point of this bill. But there is an important distinction between giving parties meaningful access to judicial review, which we already have, and eliminating the legal basis for durable agency interpretations, which is what this bill does. We are not improving judicial oversight. We are changing the incentives for litigation in a way that will generate a large volume of new cases, many of which will turn on technical regulatory questions that courts are not well positioned to resolve. The cost of that litigation will fall on Georgia taxpayers. We're trying to save them money, and this bill is going to add money. The disruption from inconsistent court rulings across different circuits will fall on regulated industries and the agencies trying to administer consistent programs. The people least affected will be the well-sourced, wealthy litigants who have the means to sustain this kind of legal strategy indefinitely. Before my colleagues vote yes on this bill, I ask you to consider seriously what this bill is authorizing. We are inviting a wave of litigation against regulatory decisions of Georgia state agencies, and we are sending the bill to the public. That is not a trade I believe Georgians would make if the question were put to them plainly. I urge you a no vote.
Ladies, yielded the well. Members, we have 2 more speakers, and by the way, speakers, I paused the clock so it's not running. We need a little bit of quiet in here. We have members, everyone may not be interested in hearing the bills, but the vast majority is interested in hearing the conversation. So I'm going to ask you to lower your tones a little bit. If you need to have a group meeting, how about take it out to one of the ante rooms if you don't mind. Certainly would be appreciated. Representative Kendricks is recognized to speak to House Bill 1274. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, today I rise to oppose HB 1247, and I'd like to echo the words of the Chief Justice of the Georgia Supreme Court during his State of the Judiciary. There are 3 co-equal branches of government in the United States: the executive, the legislature, which is us, and the judicial. We are the ones that make the laws, and the judiciary is responsible for interpreting the laws. If you've ever read Alex de Tocqueville's Democracy in America, you know that the judiciary is crucial to tempering tyranny of the majority. If you're familiar with the Federalist Papers, you know that James Madison argued that not only must the 3 branches of government be separate, but have the constitutional means and ambition to check each other. HB 1247 says in line 14, when interpreting, a court or officer hearing an administrative action shall not. Number 1, we, the legislature, don't interpret. The judiciary does, as the bill acknowledges. Number 2, if it's an administrative action, why wouldn't the courts consider an agency that has an expertise in that particular area? I have a law degree, and I can tell you I don't know as much about these different agencies as the agencies do. And number 3 says shall not. And I'm going to point to point number 1, which I said, what is the point of having a separate independent judiciary if all we're going to do is do their job? The name of this act is labeled the Georgia Bureaucratic Deference Elimination Act, but I am going to rename it to the Georgia Majority Party Wants to Do Everybody's Job Act, because that's exactly what we're doing. So if you believe in democracy and what the founders of this nation originally intended, 3 separate branches of government doing their job, help me in voting no for HB 1247. Now, I want to be direct about who gets hurt if this bill passes. Georgia's regulatory agencies exist because this General Assembly over many, many years decided that some things are just too important to leave entirely to the market: clean air, safe workspace, insurance coverage, things like that. Those agencies do their work by interpreting and applying their own regulations based on their expertise. The rules they enforce are often very detailed and technical. How those rules are interpreted is not a small matter. It determines whether the protection is real and whether it's just language in a document that parties can argue away. This bill requires courts to interpret those regulations on their own without giving any deference to an agency's expertise. A court cannot give weight to what the EPD thinks or what the Department of Labor thinks, all of which have specific expertise. That fundamentally changes the way it fundamentally changes the dynamics of enforcement. Right now, when a regulated party challenges an agency's interpretation of a rule, the agency's expert reading of the rule carries weight in court, but under this bill, it does not at all. I want to be clear about one thing. If members of this chamber believe that Georgia's environmental rules are too strict, or there's overreaching in the Department of Labor, or that insurance regulations need to be loosened, we have a process already for doing that. We debate them right here, and we vote on them on the record, and we're accountable to our constituents to those votes. That's how the legislature is supposed to work. We make the laws, not interpret the laws. So if we want to change what Georgia's regulatory agencies are empowered to do, we should do it here. Part of the legislative process, openly in legislation, where our constituents can see what we're deciding and holding us accountable to it. This bill creates a back channel for eroding protections that this General Assembly put in place, and does so under the cover of procedural reform. So I urge all of my colleagues to vote no to HB 1247. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Ladies, yield to the will. Representative Draper, you've got about almost 5 minutes. Or how about that? You got 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I rise in opposition to HB 1247. So I want to speak about what this bill actually does to Georgia's businesses, because it is being sold right now as a pro-business measure, and it is not. Right now, when a state agency interprets one of its own regulations, that interpretation applies consistently across the state. A business in Augusta and a business in Columbus face the same rule, interpret it the same way, and they can plan around it, and they can build compliance programs around it. They can make investments knowing that what the rules require of them, and this bill changes that. Under HB 1247, courts are required to interpret regulations on their own, without any deference to the agency that wrote and administers the rule. That sounds reasonable until you think through what it means in practice. It means a judge in Cobb County could read an Environmental Protection Division regulation one way, and a judge in Chatham County could read the exact same regulation a different way. Both decisions would be legally valid. Neither court would have an obligation to consider what the other agency thought the rule meant. Now you have two different legal standards for the same regulation in the same state, and every business trying to comply with that rule has to figure out which interpretation applies to them. For a company that operates across Georgia, this is not regulatory relief. This is a compliance nightmare. Which interpretation do you follow? What do you do when you operate in multiple counties? Do you design your operations around the most restrictive interpretation everywhere? Do you litigate the question in every jurisdiction until you find a favorable result? What does that cost? What does that cost, and who pays for it? Georgia's environmental permitting rules, insurance regulations, professional licensing standards, and labor regulations are not simple documents. They are technical, and they are detailed, and they often took years to develop. The agencies that administer them have built consistent interpretations over time. Businesses that operate in these regulated spaces have built their practices around those interpretations. They know what is expected of them because the rules have been applied the same way year after year. The moment that this bill passes, that consistency is up for challenge. Every major regulatory interpretation becomes an open question. Any regulated party that is unhappy with an agency decision now has a concrete reason to take it to court, because the court will reach its own conclusion without giving the agency's view any special weight. So let me ask you, who benefits from this environment? It's not the small business owner who cannot afford years of litigation. It is not the mid-sized manufacturer who needs a clear answer before committing to a facility. The parties who benefit are the ones with the large legal budgets who can pursue these challenges across multiple jurisdictions over extended periods of time, shopping for the interpretation that they want. I also want to say something about the businesses that have already invested in compliance. They have spent money, sometimes significant money, to meet the standards as the agencies have interpreted them. If this bill opens those interpretations to challenge, those investments may be based on a reading of the rules that a court later rejects. This is a real cost to real businesses operating in good faith. Inconsistency is not freedom. Unpredictability is not deregulation. What this bill creates is an environment where the rules mean different things in different courthouses, where settled interpretations are suddenly contestable, and where the burden of that uncertainty falls on every Georgia business trying to do the right thing. There are legitimate ways to address concerns about agency overreach. We can write clear statutes. In fact, I wish we would write clearer statutes. We can narrow agency mandates, and we can require legislative sign-off on major rules. Those are real solutions to real problems. This bill is not. It trades one set of problems for a worse set of problems, and the cost lands on Georgia's business community. I urge my colleagues to vote no. Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.
Lady has yielded well. Thank you for your timing. That completes the folks who signed up to speak that are opposed to the bill. We have just a couple signed up in favor. I'm going to recognize the chairman of the committee. It came from Chairman Anderson for up to 15 minutes. This is not chairman's time now. Yes, sir. This is just you speaking in favor of the bill. The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, we hear a lot of bills in governmental affairs on a lot of different subjects. And quite honestly, this is one of the simplest bills that we've heard this year. What this bill does is it simply puts into code, into law, what the Supreme Court of Georgia, the highest court in the state of Georgia, said last spring. The reference has been made to the Eternal Vigilance case. In the court ruling on that case, they overturned a standing case law scenario from back in the 80s called DOT versus Atlanta. A lot of people call that Georgia's version of Chevron deference. It's a little different, but it's very similar. So yes, the Supreme Court of Georgia overturned that case. And in doing so, what they've said is that government agencies must promulgate rules and policies and procedures in accordance with what this body says, the laws we pass, not their own interpretation of those laws. And additionally, it said that the courts cannot give deference. Deference doesn't mean they have to ignore the agency's rules and policies and stances. What it means is it can't give unfair consideration or unfair advantage to those. And all we're doing is codifying that. It may be simpler for me just to read the section because it's literally a paragraph. So I'm going to read what the bill says. When interpreting this state's constitution, statutes, regulations, or other sub-regulatory documents, a court or an officer hearing an administrative action shall not defer to a state agency's determination or interpretation of such authorities, whether such determination or interpretation is written or unwritten. This code section shall not be construed to alter the standards or review the findings of fact pursuant to Code Section 5-3-5. That's the bill. And the bill is based solely on that court case. And it's based solely on another bill that we passed out of this chamber too, or this is kind of hand in hand to that, which defines the Administrative Procedures Act and this body's ability to fulfill our duty as a co-equal branch of our government. Mr. Speaker, I don't know of anything else to say that hasn't already been said, so I'll yield the well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Gentlemen, yielded well. Leader Estration is recognized to speak to House Bill 1274. The leader is recognized.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, you know, the chairman of the committee just summed it up so well. And while I respect the debate that's occurred, I'm in some ways just perplexed by any controversy over a bill that's so simple and straightforward. At the end of the day, what we're talking about here is courts to do what they were elected to do. Judges sit and interpreting and taking direction from case law and precedent, interpreting that law and applying it to the facts for the cases in their courtroom, not deferring their decision, particularly to another branch, to the executive branch, to an unelected bureaucrat. At the end of the day, this bill is simple. Georgia laws should mean what the people's representatives passed and not what an agency has interpreted it to mean. As decided by the courts read the statute and apply the existing case law, the precedent, and interpret that law. Agencies do play an important role, but our court system, consistent with separations of powers, should not defer to those agencies' decisions. Rather, they should remain within the role in which the Constitution has placed them. House Bill 1247 ensures that when a court interprets our statutes and regulations, it does so independently, consistent with the independence of the judicial branch, and that it relies upon the text of the statute and the case law or precedent that's been established in that area, not direction or findings made by non-judicial agencies who are not lawmakers. That would be an inappropriate position for the courts to take. So just to be clear about this legislation, as the chairman just read the entire bill, lines 18, 19, makes clear that this legislation does not alter the applicable standards, so that a judge can, considering these issues, and certainly the appellate court giving a review of those determinations, maintains the existing standards of review. At the end of the day, this is a simple bill. I must feel, listening to the debate, that both sides are arguing to the independence of the judiciary, but the language of the bill reaffirms that independence. And because of that, I'm just questioning why this has been such a hotly debated bill. Let's stand for the people of Georgia. Let's stand for the rule of law in our state and the independence of our court system, and vote yes to House Bill 1247. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Gentlemen, has yielded the well. That completes our discussion on House Bill 1247. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. I thought they waived them. There is a minority report. Gentleman waives. Thank you, Mr. Whip. Previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? Hearing none, the committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? For what purposes, Representative Jason Ridley rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that the courts have made it abundantly clear that whenever they're asked about advisory opinion, they respect the separation between them and law, and they're not lawmakers, and so they respect that decision and they decline to answer about it?
I'm sure the gentleman, I know he's a keen reader of those judicial decisions, so I'm sure the gentleman knows what he speaks. He is very astute, I'm serious. For what purpose does Representative Sanchez rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry, sir.
Isn't it true that the timing of this, for the legislature to suddenly remember its powers is rather suspect, considering that we're poised to change leadership in the governor's mansion probably soon?
I don't think there's any doubt about that. Somebody else is going to be there. Might be one of us, who knows? There's one in here. For what purpose does Representative Martin rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true, Mr. Speaker, that I'm several semesters shy of a law degree? Isn't that true? I'm not a lawyer.
I believe that. The gentleman's correct.
But isn't it true, Mr. Speaker, if I were to take the points of the minority party on this and apply them to the criminal system, there would never be a defendant that would have their conviction overturned because they would always give deference to the DA. So the criminal system is already set up where both sides go to appeal and they both get equal weighted. And isn't that what this bill is trying to do in civil court cases, Mr. Speaker?
I'm sure the gentleman fervently believes that that is the case. Have all members now voted? If so, Mr. Clerk, you will lock the machine. On the passage of House Bill 1247, the yeas are 98, the nays are 63. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption of House Bill 1365? 1365.
House Bill 1365 by Jones of the 25th and others to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 1562 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating the number of judges, superior courts, so as to provide for the 21st judge of the Superior Court of the Atlanta Judicial Circuit. This bill then referred to the Committee on Judiciary. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chairman Todd Jones is recognized to present House Bill 1365.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I come to you with House Bill 1365. This is a straightforward bill. This effectively would take the Atlanta Circuit from 20 Superior Court judges to 21 Superior Court judges. If you look at their work and caseload, it should be 26. So this is just one incremental. It does not affect any of the top 3 in the index. All 20 Superior Court judges and the County Commission are in full support. I'd also like to thank the members of the Fulton County delegation, especially those on duty who helped to do this bill. So thank you. I'll stand for questions, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman has a question. Representative Holcomb to your left is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Can you describe for us the percentage by which they missed being in the top 3?
Yes, sir. They were fourth by .0001.
Thank you. I enjoy hearing you say that.
And with that, Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.
I think that'd be appropriate. Thank you, Representative Holcomb. Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. Those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? All members voted? If so, Mr. Clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of House Bill 1365, the yeas are 160, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to 1374, 1374, Mr. Clerk?
House Bill 1374 by Representative Hawkins, the 27th and others to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 24, Title 33 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to insurance generally so as to provide for certain requirements concerning method of payment to health care providers. This bill having referred to the Committee on Health, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Gentleman from Hall County, Representative Chairman Hawkins is recognized to present House Bill 1374.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 48 years ago, I graduated from dental school, and our main focus was always on the patient. We had 3 W's, what, why, and who. And the answer to the last one was always the patient. Things have evolved and changed over the years, and one of the things changed the most is the amount of insurance we started seeing in the office. And sometimes I felt like my office was partly an insurance office. But about 8 years ago, something started happening, and that is the insurance companies and the credit card companies got together and started paying us not by check, but by a virtual credit card. That's a piece of paper that comes into your office with numbers on it, and the upfront office, they don't know any difference, so they're punching these numbers in the credit card machine, and we're being charged between 2 to 5% to get paid. They're charging us to pay us. That adds to the bottom line at the end of the year. When I sat there with the accountant and the person up front, they're saying, this is what you made last year, this is where you are this year, so you got to go up to here, then you got to worry about inflation. And the last kid you got, if they want to go to college, you need to go to here. So at the end of the day, all this increases the cost of health care. All this bill says is a little addition to what we did 8 years ago with that virtual credit card, where we said they have to notify the provider. They're not doing a good job of that, and they've started doing this, charging again. So this bill says it's an opt-in. The provider or the agent has to sign it, and they can't change until they want to change it. So I ask you to please vote for this bill. It will save our Georgians more on their health care dollar. If there are no questions, I'll...
Gentleman has no questions.
No questions? Good.
Good job. Gentleman's yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, Mr. Clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of House Bill 1374, the yeas are 159, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 1368, 1368?
House Bill 1368 by Representative Cooper, the 45th, and others to be entitled an act to amend Title 37 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to mental health so as to provide for the recreation of community service boards. This bill having referred to the Committee on Public and Community Health, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair Lady Cooper is recognized to present House Bill 1368.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, this bill relates to our community service boards. They are truly our safety net for treating patients across Georgia with mental health and addiction issues. Over the years that I've been here, almost every session, we hear about problems with our community service boards. It was sort of like with our hospitals, where some of our smaller hospitals kept having problems because their boards, they had great people from their communities on the board, making the rules and trying to run them, but they really weren't qualified to run small hospitals. We're having some of the same problems with the community service boards. We have had 3 or 4 of the 22 we have across our state on the brink of insolvency. And the department has had to step in and try to help them out, and so they can even make payroll. I mean, it's gone as far as one of the boards gave their person that was the head of the service board a lifetime $123,000 a year payout. So what has happened is the commissioner has put forth for our consideration sort of a reconstitution and how these boards are run. The major issue is that he will be able to appoint an executive director, and that in person will serve as the chief operating officer of the Community Service Board. And that officer will be an employee of the state and answerable to the commissioner. And he will work with the board to help them be more effective, to make sure that community service boards across our state are offering the same type of services in each area of the state. So continuity and help as a person who, knows how to run a business. If he may hire the executive or promote the executive director from the person who is currently running the board and are running that board, and if he does, they will not lose all of their retirement that they've had with the Community Service Board. At that time, they've worked out a transfer it'll go toward their state retirement. So basically, that's what it does. It reconstitutes the board from the old ones, puts the same people on, puts the executive director on the board, allows the commissioner to hire the executive member, and also gives them the ability to fire an executive board member if he needs to. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'll take questions. It's a movement to improve service to the people that are mentally ill, to make these boards more effective and give them the help they need. And there will be educational programs for the members of the board, and they will be required to take these educational courses. And we did the very same thing for small hospitals across our state. In fact, I will never forget, I read the bill, I worked on it, and Terry England was on it, and all of a sudden, I read that if these board members for small hospitals did not take the training, that we would take away their Medicaid. I panicked, and I came bounding down to Terry's office and saying, "You can't do this. If you take the Medicaid away from this small hospital, it'll close them." And he said, "Yes, I can. If they don't take the education, it's going to have bad consequences." Those small hospitals are still running. This is what is in mind for the community service boards, just to make them more efficient and run more effectively. And with that, Mr. Speaker, if there's no questions.
You have one question.
Okay, I'll take the one question.
Representative Todd Jones to your right.
Does the gentlelady yield?
She does.
Isn't it true that even with the large appropriation made by the amended budget that is going to go into a new hospital in the central Georgia area, that the community service boards will still provide first-line support for intellectual development and mental health support?
They certainly will. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Chair Lady.
Lady has no other questions.
Mr. Speaker, I'm yielding the well, and I would ask for everyone's favorable vote on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you for the bill. The ladies yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? Hearing none, the committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee? which was favorable to the passage of the bill. Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, Mr. Clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of House Bill 1368, the yeas are 156, the nays are 2. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, if you'll read the caption to House Bill 1295.
House Bill 1295 by Representative Cooper, the 45th, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Article 4, Chapter 34, Title 43 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to physician assistants so as to enter into an interstate compact known as the Physician Assistant Licensure Compact. This bill having referred to the Committee on Health, that committee recommends this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair Lady Cooper is recognized to present House Bill 1295.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, House Bill 1295 is another compact bill. This one is for physician's assistants. It's based on the model of the medical compact, and basically what it is reciprocity. 22 states already belong to this national compact. We would be the 23rd. It allows for portability and makes it easier for our physician's assistants to practice in different states and have their license in the new state and to get them on a much more quicker issuance of a license for the state. This really helps us in times of emergency. Through COVID, we had multiple nurse practitioners and doctors working in our state from around the country, and they were functioning on a license because of these compacts. It's basically reciprocity. This is really good when we have military families come and they're licensed in another state. They can get a Georgia license much more quickly, and they don't lose a lot of time. It's good for us, like I said, in emergencies, and it means that states share information about individuals, and it's much quicker if an individual is having problems for each state to know about it. There are many positives of the compact, and like I said, it's based on the physician compact. And I will be glad to answer questions if you have them. But if not, Mr. Speaker, I will yield the well and ask for your favorable vote to bring Georgia PAs into the national compact so that they can practice in multiple states. And of course, they have to adhere to our scope of practice and our rules when they are part of a compact. Thank you.
Does the lady want to take a question?
I'll take a question.
Representative Osteen, to your right.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentlelady yield?
Sure.
Is it not true that just this morning, Chairman Martin and Representative Cameron and I met with 8 bright students that are PA students from Berry College who've just started a program, as well as an instructor from Mercer, to advocate for this very thing? Thank you so much for bringing this bill.
You're welcome. I wish we had more reciprocity. It would really make it much easier and much quicker for people to be licensed in all the medical professions across the state of Georgia. But until that time that we have a way of giving reciprocity, we have the compact. So thank you very much. I ask for your favorable vote.
The lady has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee's substitute? Hearing none, the committee's substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, Mr. Clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 1295. The yeas are 157, the nays 3. This bill having received the requisite constitutional majority is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 1303, 1303?
House Bill 1303 by Representative Kelly, the 16th, and others, be entitled an act to amend Article 5 of Chapter 5 of Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to cruelty to children so as to provide for the offense of possession of a controlled substance in the presence of a child. This bill having referred to the Committee of Judiciary and Non-Civil, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Representative Trey Kelly is recognized to speak to and present House Bill 1303.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House, I bring before you House Bill 1303, which expands our child endangerment law that exists in Georgia to cover in the instance when an adult would have either a Schedule 1, a narcotic Schedule 2 drug, or marijuana in the presence of a minor under the age of 14. It is consistent with the same penalties that currently exist for our child endangerment law, and it passed with bipartisan support out of the Judiciary Non-Civil Committee, Mr. Speaker. I had this legislation brought to me by my cousin, who's a Floyd County police officer. So, Bryson, I appreciate you bringing this issue to my attention. Mr. Speaker, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Gentleman has no question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well and ask for the body's favorable consideration.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? Hearing none, the committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. Those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, Mr. Clerk will. All members voted. Mr. Clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of House Bill 1303, the yeas are 147, nays are 12. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption of House Bill 438?
House Bill 438 by Representative Crowe, the 118th, to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2, Title 47 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the employees' retirement system in Georgia so as to allow all sworn law enforcement officers serving in and in the Commissioner and Deputy Commissioner Department of Public Safety to be eligible for regular retirement benefits. This bill has been referred to the Committee on Retirement. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chairman Crowe is recognized to present House Bill 438.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, this is House Bill 438. Essentially, it is a parity bill. Currently, the Department of Public Safety has 3 divisions. The Uniform Patrol Division, which is the State Patrol, Motor Carrier Compliance or Commercial Vehicle Enforcement now Division, and the Capitol Police Division. The Uniformed Patrol Division, DNR, GBI can all retire with full benefits at 55, and they have the same line of duty disability benefits. The Commercial Vehicle Enforcement and Capitol Police Divisions do not. They are not in that same code section. This would simply bring them into the same code section as all of our other state law enforcement and give them the same retirement and line of duty disability benefits. That is essentially the bill, Mr. Speaker, and I will yield for any questions if there are any.
Gentleman, yield for a question.
Yes, sir.
Chairman Hitchens to your left.
Gentleman, yield.
Yes, sir, I will.
I spoke to this a little bit on another bill a little while ago, but I know I don't look that old, but I've been around a long time. And this originated in 1969. At that time, Congress passed a bill mandatorily requiring all federal law enforcement officers to retire at 55. In the 1970 session of the legislature, and I was here because I was assigned to Governor Carter on the security detail, and we didn't have electronics, and everything was done by conversation and through paper. And I since it affected my organization, my ears perked up every time something happened. But they passed it for all state law enforcement officers. Back then, there were only two departments that had law enforcement officers. The Department of Public Safety had the State Patrol and the GBI, and then there was the Department of Natural Resources had the Fish and Game Rangers Law Enforcement Division. At that time, the Department of Transportation had Weights and Measures Division. They were not certified law enforcement officers because at that time there was no post certification. Post came along several years later. In fact, back then, in local agencies, they hired people, gave them a badge, and usually made them buy their own gun and told them to go get them until Post came along. So they weren't certified. And then several years later, the Public Service Commission decided to have law enforcement officers, and they worked on the highways enforcing the public service regulations. In 2002, the legislature and the governor signed it, formed the Department of Public Safety Services. They took the Driver's License Division, the Georgia Public Safety Commission officers, the Weights and Measures people, and the Department of Revenue personnel that dealt with tags and licensing. And they created that department. Three years later, it imploded and went away. And in 2005...
Chairman, I know there's a question here somewhere.
Well, the question is, this thing's been around for about 3 years, and I haven't spoken to it. And I don't think the people realize...
You're catching up now, though.
I don't think anybody realized that it was an equity issue, and I thought that it would pass without any speaking on my behalf, on their behalf. But it is an equity issue. They can't retire like troopers can, and it causes a lot of discussion within the agency when you have one group that can do one thing and two other groups that can't.
Yes, sir. The gentleman knows of what he speaks.
Is that not true?
Yes, sir, it most definitely is. Thank you for the question. Mr. Speaker, I think I will yield the well now and ask for this body's favorable consideration.
The gentleman knows of what he speaks, and I'm glad that your voice of experience, Chairman Hitchens, speaks to us, and we hear you loud and clear, and we appreciate your service and what you're doing today and what you did in the past. Thank you so much. He puts up with me as a gentleman that represents a district with him, so he's got some good humor if he'll put up with my humor. So thank you for your service. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? For what purposes Representative Al Williams rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
How long is it going to be?
About the time it took the colonel.
You won't be recognized.
This will be a brief one.
No, you won't be recognized. The gentleman's recognized. See if you can do it a little bit shorter time frame.
Is it not true, Mr. Speaker, that in deference to Colonel Hitchens, that sometimes it's good to know the history on what you're voting on, because most things we ain't got an idea past the last session. Thank you, Chairman Hitchens.
The gentleman knows what he speaks. History is always important. Have all members now voted? If so, Mr. Clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of House Bill 438, the yeas are 159, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Obviously got him over the hump there, Chairman Hitchens. Appreciate your words. Mr. Clerk will read the caption of House Bill 1178, 1178.
House Bill 1178 by Representative Horner III and others to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 5 of Title 28 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions regarding financial affairs so as established the Budget and Fiscal Affairs Oversight Committee of the House of Representatives. This bill having been referred to the Committee on Budget and Fiscal Affairs Oversight. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by Rules Committee substitute.
No matter how popular the member is, House rules don't allow those outbursts. So I hope members will pay attention to that. Representative Horner is recognized to speak to the bill. The gentleman will speak to House Bill 1178.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After that, I may have to cut down my 45-minute speech. House Bill 1178 strengthens the ability of this body to oversee how taxpayer dollars are spent. This bill formally establishes the Budget of Fiscal Affairs Oversight Committee, giving the House a structured process for state spending, strategic plans, and financial liabilities across the state. In most ways, this bill restores the law used to function. And once again, the House will be where the buck stops. Good government requires oversight, and this bill gives the House the tools to evaluate programs, identify financial risks, and safeguard taxpayer money. I respectfully ask for your support, and I will yield the questions now, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman has a couple of questions.
I'm sure I do.
Representative Jordan Ridley is recognized to your right, is recognized for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
Is it not true this is your first bill?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
That was easy.
Representative Beth Camp to your right is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
Isn't it true that the transparency that this policy would bring would help us as lawmakers do our constitutional responsibility to make sure that monies in our state care are being spent judiciously?
Absolutely. I believe in the power of this House.
Thank you.
Representative Sanchez to your right is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
Isn't it true that I'm on this committee as well?
Yes, it is.
Does it further yield?
I do.
Isn't it further true that hopefully people won't vote against this bill just because I'm on this committee?
The gentleman knows what he speaks.
Representative Hilton to your left is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
As the chairman of Committee of Information Audits, there's no one who cares more about transparency than I do. I do have a couple serious questions that you and I talked about offline. I'd love to get your answer on those. On line 52, it talks about conducting audits from one or more third-party auditors. One of the things I care about is keeping the size of government small and not creating duplicative activities and things that we do. And so with that in mind, I know we already have a state auditor would this committee rely on audits from them? And this committee, we're already producing, that audit function is already being done by this agency. Are we duplicating that effort with the creation of this?
No, we're not duplicating. We had extensive discussions with the DOAA, and so we can use the DOAA, but this allows other institutions to be used as well.
This is a gentleman further, you go?
Absolutely.
On line 56, and again, I apologize because this is your first bill. On line 56, where it says to call any elected official, as you understand, to call, is that to subpoena? Is that, I mean, you can call me anytime, but how strict or serious do you interpret that to call?
That gives the power of the House to call, to bring to that committee any member that is of a public official capacity.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Chairman Hatchett, to your right, is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
Thank you. On line 46, 40, I think 49, several lines in there, it talks about funds that have to come and be appropriated by the House Appropriations Committee. Are you aware of that?
Yes, sir.
Has anybody talked to the Appropriations Committee about funding this committee?
That's why we added you onto this committee, sir.
Good answer.
You have a couple more, and then we're going to wrap it up. Representative Ramon, ladies recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I do.
I actually do have a serious question because I don't think it was fully answered. So when you say to call an elected official, I mean, you're asking them to come in, but if they say no or if they refuse, does this committee have any power to force them to come in?
It's not a forcing, but it does require them to take the call seriously. It'd be up to the discretion of the Speaker.
Oh, so the Speaker gets to subpoena? I'm just kidding. All right, thank you.
I know you find that hard to believe, but yes, I have an opinion every now and then. Representative Trey Kelly, to your right, is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman yield?
I do.
I appreciate the conversation we had earlier about history. And Representative Horner, I noticed that this bill's cleared the Rules Committee and it's now on the Rules calendar. I'm asking if your objection to previous rules of this House has subsided since your first day here in this House.
Well, what I like about this bill is that it allows the state to admit when it's wrong. And sometimes we must admit that we are wrong.
That'd be a good point for you to wrap it up, I think.
I will yield the well, Mr. Speaker.
Excellent job, excellent job. We do have a speaker in favor of this bill and a gentleman who knows a great deal about this subject matter, and that's Chairman Steve Tarbin. Chairman Tarbin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll be brief. I understand Colonel Hitchens wants to speak to the bill, and I'll be quick and get out of here. Folks, I want you to consider what this bill does. If we go back, I see Chuck Martin coming back in. This committee was developed in middle of 2005, 6, right in that area. This bill that he has now is exactly what established that committee. I went on this committee in 2014. In 2015, Chuck came in, had been talking to a previous speaker and leadership, and we were going to start doing exactly what we're doing now. And things changed, and we never got around to it. This bill codifies almost what this committee is set up to do. It's good for this body, it's good for this state, it's good for our citizenry. This bill will allow us to do the assignment we have, and it has oversight of the state. And the people on my committee, I want to tell you how proud I am of them, because they know how I bragged on them. The ability that sits on that committee is tremendous. And when we started from the beginning, I told them, this is a two-way street, folks. We might find something a department's doing wrong, but we also might find something we're doing wrong. This is for us to work together and have a community situation where we're working with them. Maybe we can report something to the Appropriations Committee. And the suggestion was to have him on the committee, and I think it was a great addition. And I ask that we send a message with a unanimous vote for Mitchell Horner's bill, because I guarantee the young man has worked hard for the whole time he's been down here, and I appreciate him. Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.
Chairman Tarvin. Yes, sir. Chairman Tarvin has yielded the well, and certainly he's one who knows of what he speaks when it comes to this subject matter, and the author of the bill has yielded the well as well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? This committee is going to allow us to do our job. Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to withdrawing the committee's substitute? Hearing none, the committee's substitute is withdrawn. Is there any objection to adopting the substitute offered by the Committee on Rules? Hearing none, the Rules Committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? All members voted. For what purposes, Representative McLean rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry, sir.
Didn't he say that he worked real hard on that bill, Mr. Speaker?
He did say that, didn't he? Yes, sir, I agree.
I just wonder why it was so much red up there.
Oh, well, I don't know. We're working on that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman certainly has got a good recognition of what's going on the board. Have all members now voted? All members voted? There you go. If so, the clerk will lock the machine. Thank you, members. On the passage of House Bill 1178, the yeas are 158, the nays are 0. This House is pulling back our authority all the time. Thank you, members. Somebody took the fish last night, but I have a bone up here. We're going to present that. Oh, we found the fish. Hey. All right, I'll keep my dog bone. Congratulations, Representative Horner. We appreciate your patience and being engaged. Excellent bill. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 1379, 1379?
House Bill 1379 by Representative Gaines, the 120th and others, to be entitled an act to amend Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to education so as to require semi-annual reports from the institutions of the University System of Georgia, units of Technical College System of Georgia, and local school systems and other public schools regarding funding received. This bill having referred to the Committee on Higher Education, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Representative Houston Gaines is recognized to present House Bill 1379. The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I noticed that bone was UGA themed, so that was a good. That I liked that a whole lot. So, go dogs, go dogs. Well, amen. Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm here to present House Bill 1379. This legislation builds on the work that this House and this General Assembly has already done to increase transparency and foreign funding into our schools across the state. What we're trying to do is make sure citizens in Georgia know of any foreign funding flowing to our universities and K through 12 institutions to make sure that there's no undue influence in our curriculum. That is unfortunately happening where you're having some of these foreign entities that are trying to put undue influence on curriculum in the state. So this builds on the on legislation passed last year that it does require transparency in several countries. This expands the number of countries that require transparency and funding. It also includes the K through 12 and TCSG, and for those additional countries, it would be $10,000 and more given to those institutions. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to answer a question or two if there are any.
The gentleman has a question. Representative, gentleman yield.
I will.
Representative Berry, to your left. Yes, sir. Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman yield?
I will.
Can you clarify how this bill distinguishes hostile foreign influence and legitimate academic collaboration? So, for example, would a study abroad trip partnership with the University of Ghana trigger the same reporting burden in this bill?
So this legislation would apply to countries like China, Iran, Cuba, countries that are trying to have undue influence, potentially undue influence. And this doesn't stop necessarily the funding from happening, but it ensures transparency. And so that's what this legislation is all about. I mean, I can give you plenty of examples of different curriculum and different specific examples. This is one from the Qatar Foundation International, a $65,000 grant for Arabic Teacher Council grant program. I mean, there's all sorts of different, I mean, I can give you 100 examples. That's what we're trying to shine a light on across the state.
I would love to see those examples. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the will and ask the body's favorable consideration.
Gentleman has yielded the well. We have some folks signed up to speak on the bill, some for and some against. Representative Jasmine Clark, I'm sorry, it's been a long day. You know I know you. Representative Jasmine Clark is recognized. Dr. Jasmine Clark is recognized to speak to the bill. You'll have up to like 10 to 12 minutes, something like that. Ladies recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, tonight I rise to raise concerns about HB 1379. So first I want to be very, very clear about something before I talk about the specifics of the bill. The goal behind this bill is actually very legitimate. Georgia's public universities should not be conduits for foreign adversaries to acquire research, intellectual property, or influence over academic programs. That's a concern, and it does deserve a real legislative response. So I want to be clear. My objective is not to the goal of this bill. I actually agree with the intent. My objection is to the definitions that this bill uses to pursue what it wants to do. And I did mention this in committee. The definitions are written pretty broadly, that they will sweep in some partners and collaborators that no one in this chamber actually intends to target. And the consequences of that overbreath will be felt not by foreign adversaries, which is the true target of this bill, but by the Georgia researchers. So as someone who has done research and who has worked with collaborators in other countries and currently works at a research university, this bill does give me some pause. So the part of the bill that I'm very concerned about is the definition of foreign country of concern, because lines 35 through 38 outline that this provision captures countries that are a monarchy, has a sovereign wealth fund with royal family involvement on its board, and shares a border with other designated countries. That language does not just describe adversaries, it can describe allies too. Mr. Speaker, I understand that the hour is late and that we are all very tired, but I would ask that if people want to have a conversation, can they at least have it quietly or step outside of the room so the people who do want to hear can hear? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I was saying, there are actually other countries that meet this description that maintain close diplomatic and intelligence relationships with the United States. So one example of a country that would fall under this definition is Norway. And there are universities that collaborate with American and Georgia research institutions on science, medicine, technology, and exchange programs. Their foundations fund legitimate academic work, so none of that makes them a threat to Georgia's research security, and I just feel like we're being overly broad by looping them in. The definition of foreign entity of concern creates the same problem. It includes any organization that is a subsidiary of or controlled by an entity with its principal place of business in a foreign country of concern. That chain can extend several layers deep. A research foundation that receives funding from or shares a governing board member with a larger organization headquartered in a covered country could qualify, even if that foundation itself operates independently and conducts entirely legitimate work. So consider the perspective of the researchers in our state, like the researchers at Georgia Tech or UGA. When faced with these definitions, they have a grant offer from one of these university foundations in a country that might fall under this subsection, but they are not sure. So when legal questions are unclear, what usually happens is when they're unclear and there is a financial penalty, what usually happens is the universities will err on the side of caution and just say, I don't want to work, or I don't want to take this chance. And that is the chilling effect of this bill. It's not a minor side consequence. It is very important. This is a very predictable behavior of institutions when there is legal ambiguity. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that our universities remain competitive by not making international collaborations legally risky, even when that collaboration involves countries that are not adversaries by any reasonable definition. And so I want to be precise about what I'm not arguing. I am not arguing against disclosure requirements for funding from actual adversaries. We heard some very concerning testimony in committee about certain organizations and what they've been doing, and that definitely needs a light shone on it about that lack of transparency. So this bill extends the reporting requirement to just a much broader category of countries using definitions that are not clearly tied to actual threats. And so if we want to pass a funding transparency law, let's do the work of defining the covered sources with precision. That's all I'm asking. The definition should track the actual threat, actual adversary governments and entities controlled by them, rather than unintentionally capturing allies, partners, and independent institutions through the broad language in the bill. So as written, this bill could cost Georgia more in lost research collaboration and academic competitiveness than it gains in security. I actually think this bill is fixable, and I hope that when it goes to the Senate, we can work on the language more to hone the definition to target our actual concerns. I know I rose in opposition to the bill, but I will vote in favor of this bill with the hope that these concerns will be addressed before it comes back to this chamber. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.
Ladies, yielded well. We appreciate your comments. We had no one else is speaking on the bill. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? We do have a minority report. Minority report is waived. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee's substitute? Hearing none, the committee's substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? For what purpose does Representative Rahman rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is it not true that we've had several versions of this kind of bill, and in the past I've asked the same question, which is, why are we not mandating an analysis and reporting of all foreign funding, not just specific numbers? Because at the end of the day, our allyships have changed over the past 6 months alone.
The lady certainly knows of what she speaks. For what purpose does Representative Panich rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that the original version of this bill had all foreign countries, but the university system thought it would be too onerous to have all foreign countries, so it was limited to foreign countries of concern, which are listed through the State Department?
I know the lady knows of what she speaks. She studied it closely. For what purpose does Representative Holly rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry, sir.
Mr. Speaker, is it not true that as a member of the class of 2018 that came into this Capitol, that regardless of how either of the Speaker or the dissenter vote on this bill, that should they both be allowed to go into Congress, that certainly you and the members here train them well? Is that not true?
Boy, that's a great parliamentary inquiry, and you're probably right. The gentleman knows of what he speaks. One last one, Representative Fleming. For what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry, sir.
Is it not true that this House bill is a continuation of House Bill 150 from last year that this body passed? And is it not true that HB 1379 had 3 to 4 hearings with robust discussion in committee on this bill to perfect it?
The gentleman knows what he speaks, and I'll go back and check the record on both of those, but I'm sure the gentleman's correct. Have all members now voted? All members voted because this is the one you were looking for. All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of House Bill 1379, the yeas are 139, the nays are 15. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. For what purpose does Chairman Newton rise?
To make a motion.
State your motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move that House Bill 1276 be recommitted to rules.
Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 1276?
House Bill 1276 by Representative Newton and others to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 4, Title 49 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to public assistance so as to provide for the Department of Community Health to regularly and systematically review information.
On the gentleman's motion that House Bill 1276 be withdrawn from the calendar and recommitted to the Rules Committee, is there objection? It is hearing none, it is so ordered. The following bills and resolutions will be postponed to the next legislative day, which will be Friday. House Resolution 1, yes, I agree. House Resolution 1049, House Bill 334, 421, 545, 626, 892, 942, 1122, 1167, 1283, 1116, and House Resolution 1000. All will be postponed to the next legislative day. We do have some afternoon orders. Representative Ali is recognized for an afternoon order. What else we got?
I will.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The siblings on the screen you see are Cody and Megan, who are 17 and 12 years old. They are both Detroit Lions fans and are experts in R&B music. They are also looking to be adopted and find a family, which can be done at itsmyturnnow.dhs.georgia.gov. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will yield the well. We have done a lot of good work today. Thank you, members of this House.
Thank you for bringing these two fine youngins up. Hope they work out. Hey, I'm going to go ahead and do this. We have some announcements, but I don't want these ladies to leave. Two special ladies, Representative Terry Cummins and Representative Debbie Buckner. These two ladies, there she is. Representative Cummins, Representative Buckner, birthdays today. Happy birthday, y'all. Appreciate both of you. We have some announcements. Representative McLean is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want everyone to know that the Working Family Caucus is meeting tomorrow, Thursday, in room 307, CLOB, and it's at 12 o'clock. So please, if you're here, come by and see us. And I want to say this, Mr. Speaker, thank you, because if Representative Sharon Beasley Teague was here, she would say, Mr. Speaker, it is time to go home. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I miss her, don't you? Yes, sir. Fine lady, fine lady. Chairman Gunther, recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Judiciary will meet tomorrow at 1:30 in room 132. We have 4 or 5 bills to take up.
Chairman Parsons, recognized for announcement.
Thank you, Speaker. Energy Utilities and Telecommunications will meet tomorrow at 2 o'clock in room 406 of the Legislative Office Building. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Chairman Hawkins, recognized for announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Health Committee will meet tomorrow at 2:30 in CAP 403. Thank you.
Chairman Dickey, recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Agriculture and Consumer Affairs Committee will meet tomorrow at 10 o'clock, 606. Chairman Parrish has sent a couple bills back to us, so please be there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Anderson, recognized for announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Governmental Affairs Committee will meet tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. in 506 CLOB. Thank you.
You know, I don't know if hard work's ever killed anybody. It certainly hadn't killed the members of this House. I want to thank you all for staying here and doing something. It's called doing your job. You can look across the hall. They turn out the lights, turn out the heaters, everything's cooled down. Been gone for hours, but this House is here doing something, doing the people's business. Thank y'all. Appreciate you, everyone. Now, let me tell you, something's contagious. Good work ethic, doing the right thing. Stand up, Matthew Knox. Been here with us all day. Our page, Matthew, thank you, my young man. Come on down here. Let's give you a welcome. Representative Gamble, let your community know what a fine young man this is, and he's stuck with us all day. Thank you, Matthew. If y'all don't have any further business, I don't have any. I'm going to recognize the majority leader of this House for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that this House stand adjourned until Friday, March 6, 2026 at 10 o'clock a.m.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. On the motion of the majority leader that this House be adjourned until 10 a.m. on Friday, March the 6th, 2026. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. It wasn't even close from up here. The ayes have it. We are adjourned. Thank you, members.